More than half of the ASEAN population are still living under the poverty line, as fortunate reports and figures often tell us actually a half of what reality is. But at least those reports indicate to what certain degree ASEAN should cooperate to reduce the food security and make sure their priorities feed up with the nation. So just recently, in terms of food security, is very important in poverty reduction reform. The ADB has recently launched a report on food price volatility, based on actually defining how should ASEAN cooperate to actually boost the growth, reduce the food insecurity.
I would say ASEAN need to cooperate in terms of the food security. I fully agree with the recent economic minister meeting of ASEAN that have the 5 rice growing countries to form somehow like we call the Organization of Rice Exporter. I think this would not only standardize the price or agree on the export price, but it also will give food security to those who import rice, for example, Indonesia, Philippines. With the cooperation in ASEAN, I think this would be. So at the national level, things have taken shape. I think at the local level or at the grassroots level, that's a very, very worrisome. Because people especially in the CLMV country, they still live on because subsistence economy, where they grow rice and agro food products for their own consumption and then sell the rest. But then now with the bigger market, with the big demand, they cannot meet food safety or quality. Imagine Cambodian have to import 60% of fresh produce from Thailand and Vietnam to Cambodia. This doesn't mean that Cambodian farmer cannot grow those vegetable or fruit or meat. But suddenly the demand of food products have changed. They require quality, quantity, safety, environmental friendly, which those produced by the local farmer no longer meet those requirements. Suddenly their produce no longer can be sold and instead imported into. So I think that food insecurity, not because we lack of food, but our farmer or local producer have not modernized or have the skill to develop what they need in the modern market.
So what do you think would be the solution to propagate the new agricultural technology?
I propose that government, private enterprise, and academic institutions need to work together to move this farmer from subsistence agriculture to modern farming system. I'm sure they are capable of produce good vegetable, good fruit, can raise good meat if they are properly been introduced to new technology, been trained how to do it, and if they see that if they meet the demand or requirement, they can also get better price. If people see that they benefit, they will follow. So I still believe that we need to work together. Private sector also have mutual interest. Private sector also wants something that meet the market. Government also want to see their people well-being, and people also want more money. They just don't know how to do. So I think if we just get together, I'm sure that they can be trained and adapt into the modern value chain.
Although CLMV countries are the most challenging nations to deal with in terms of boosting development as well as reducing its gap, the archipelagic nations of ASEAN also have one-of-a-kind challenges to address. With the exception of Brunei, Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, and the Philippines are the oldies. They are ASEAN founding fathers. Yet they shoulder great challenges as come with great responsibilities. So let's shift from the new member of ASEAN let's see what is the actually old members of ASEAN are doing. But in terms, what do you think are their challenges in terms of bridging development gap or actually calming political tensions?
Well, I think among the old ASEAN members, we also still look at each other also like who will benefit more in the open up. I think Thailand also start to realize that we are not quite ready. I mean, our population, not many people speak English.
Right.
Not many people read the manual in English. So when it opened up, I think a lot of jobs might be taken away by other English-speaking countries.
For example, the Philippines, Indonesia, Singapore.
Malaysia, Singapore, they use English as their languages. For us, you know, we use English maybe 2 times a year or something, so it's quite tough. Yeah.
The last question is all about how ASEAN can be freed or cannot from the international donors. Well, is the answer revolved around ASEAN being a developed region, or will there be another way? Okay, so when we look beyond AEC 2015, will this region be less dependent on the foreign aid, for example, USAID, the World Bank, ADB, and all the stuff like that, then come up with a new ASEAN model that actually benefits our own people? When can this region be,
I think it's already start. I think it already start. If you look at, USAID have been out of ASEAN for quite some time. They were quite busy in Middle East and Africa. So in fact, the ODA or the money that coming to ASEAN is no longer from Europe. A lot of them are generated within Asia. The big donor are China, Japanese, Korean. It's no longer the big player like before, like USAID or EU. And I think more and more with the ASEAN open up, we would trade among ourselves. I think our export now to ASEAN country, from Thailand, our export is about 24 to 25% of the whole export. And I think what we sell into CLMV countries is almost about 70% of what we sell to the US. And I think it's increasing every day. So I think in the future, these 600 million people in ASEAN, plus 1.4 billion from China, 1.2 of India, I'm sure trade among ourselves we will be the center of, I think, the economy. I believe that.
Right. So last question. When we talk about conflicts, we have Sayaburi Dam conflict. We have the South China Sea conflict. They seem to be the aspects of disconnectivity among ASEAN. What do you think of this? Will this create a crack in the international relations when we actually step toward the ASEAN Economic Community?
I think there's a lot of pressure on that, but I still believe in we call the ASEAN spirit. We talk among ourselves. I think like Thai and Cambodia conflict in the past, it can be solved amicably. And I believe that China, who see us as her strategic alliance, wouldn't do something to disaggregate ASEAN. I think it's both. It's a mutual benefit. China also want to see ASEAN together, because to deal with one ASEAN is better than to deal with 10 individual countries. India at the same time, the same. So I think our ASEAN member like Philippines or like Laos also do not want to get away from ASEAN. So I believe it will be solved.
This has been today's edition of Toward 2015. I'll see you again, same time, 3:30 to 4 p.m. on Nation Channel. Until then, สวัสดีค่ะ